here, he was he was a fellow classmate all throughout my semesters. So then the day about the news and he wasn't there for class, I was like, I remember this pretty well. The day he didn't show up for class because, I was like, dang, I think that was his third absence. He's gonna get kicked out of the program, man. It's not good. And, he got kicked out of the program, I guess. Oh, bless his heart. I don't know if any of y'all recognize it, but actually, he gave me the shirt about a week or two before. Pascal and I wore a t-shirt to class, and the instructors will have our necks. If we wear a t-shirt to class, we're supposed to wear a long sleeve, so I asked Carson, hey, can I borrow a long sleeve? You got one? And he gave me this, which I've just discovered, which is his dad's shirt. even the things he did was what he did. Always something with him. Bless his heart. Well, yeah. Y'all have your own ways of grieving, your own ways of remembering it. And God damn it, I know I'm always going to remember he was a good friend. I wish I got to know him closer. I wish I spent more time with him. But the time I spent with him was good. I'm always going to remember him. I'm always going to keep the shirt. I don't care what his dad says. I'm sorry. All right. Well, yeah. Anyone else wants to come on up? Come on up, please. Love you, Carson. Love you.
Picture back there on the table that says, it's Carson with a funny face that says born with. You can't quite make out that bottom word. You can fill that blank in if you want. But spunky is what I would say. One time he was at my house. He was probably about 11, and we were doing fireworks. And he found a basketball there in my garage. He asked me to pull it up, and I did. He dribbled it around me for a good 30 minutes and egged me on and wanted to play. He said, come on, man, let's go. You and me, one-on-one. Now, he's 11. He's about down here. And he egged me on. I'm like, oh, no, I just, not right now, Carson. And he stands back, puts the ball under his arm, and says, come on, man, don't let my size intimidate you. We never did get to play that game. But that's pretty much Carson wrapped up right there. I love the guy.
Well, I didn't know Carson as a young man. We used to live down the coast, and he would come down with his daddy. He must have been 3, maybe 4 years old. A character, he really was. He's so sweet, though. And he'd go out on the boat with Uncle Johnny and his dad, and he'd come back and he'd come running in the house and he'd say, Aunt Linda, we caught 10 fish. I said, are you sure? He says, yes. He says, we caught 10 fish. I said, well, who caught the biggest one? He'd point his little finger at me and he'd say, wait right here. And he'd run outside, and guess he got the information from Uncle Johnny or his dad. He'd come in, he said, I did. I caught the biggest fish. I said, I don't know about that, Carson. He says, and we saw alligators. I said, alligators? He said, yeah, and one bit me. I said, Carson, let me get my first aid kit. I'll fix it up for you. He said, no, it's okay. It's gone. It's well. I said, well, where did it bite you? He said, on my back. I said, I gotta see your back. He said, no, it's okay. It's okay, Aunt Linda. It's okay. But he loved going out on that boat with Uncle Johnny and his daddy. And I loved seeing him come down there. And they had a great time. But he grew older and his daddy bought a boat. And so they started going as a family, which I'm really happy for them. And they had a lot of memories down there. So, but that's really the only real memory that has stayed with me for so many years, because he was such a personable little boy. And I really enjoyed knowing him.
Hi, my name's Anna, and I was one of Carson's friends. Today I'm going to share with you some of the memories of Carson that meant the most to me, and the immense impact he had on my life. I'm Carson when I was in 7th grade, and he was the same person then as he was when he passed. Outgoing, charismatic, kind, and compassionate. One of my first memories of Carson was at lunch. He came up to me, stole my lunchbox, and ran away. I couldn't find him before we had to go back to class, so I gave up and just went to class. Not even 5 minutes later, I felt someone tap me on the shoulder. I looked up and there was Carson. He handed me my lunchbox back and wished me a good rest of my day. Later, I asked him, "Why'd you steal my lunchbox?" And he told me, "I just wanted another chance to see you." That interaction sums up who Carson was. He was someone who cared deeply and always wanted to make you feel special. There was never a time when you felt unseen around him. He had this unique ability to make everybody feel important. There were so many times when I would be driving around Wimberley and see his unique truck pass by, and not even 30 seconds later, get a call from Carson. He would always ask me to pull over or meet him on the side of the road somewhere just so he could say hello. There was even one time when he followed me to work because he saw my car pass by just so he could say hi. Carson was the definition of human sunshine. He lit up every room he walked into with his vibrant blue eyes and contagious laugh. It was almost impossible to be sad around him because his mission was always to uplift you and make you feel happy and appreciated. I remember when I went through my first breakup at 16, one of the first days I had the courage to get out of bed, Carson met up with me and my sister in San Marcos. He took us shopping at Hobby Lobby and then hung out with us at school. Even though Hobby Lobby was probably the last place he wanted to be, it didn't matter to him. All that mattered was trying to put a smile on my face. That was Carson. He showed up for people, he made time for people, he made you feel like you mattered. Life without Carson is dimmer, and it will never be the same. I hope that one day I can be as caring, kind, and life-altering to the people around me as Carson was. Everyone Carson met was his best friend, no matter how long he had known them. I will forever be grateful for the time I had with Carson. Even though our time was cut short, in those few years of knowing him, I got to know one of the most memorable and amazing people I will ever have the privilege of knowing. I hope everybody gets to meet a Carson at least once in their life, because then they will truly know what it feels like to be seen, appreciated, and loved. Carson made a bigger impact in his 18 years on this earth than most people make in an entire lifetime. I've tried to wrestle with myself and find a way to make the situation seem fair, but I always come back to the same thought. It's not fair. Carson deserved so much from this world, and he had so many big adventures ahead of him. I will forever love Carson because he showed me a kind of love that you only experience from very few truly special people. He will forever be my gal pal, and I cannot wait to see him in every lifetime after this one. Although I know words can't quite capture the impact Carson left on all of us, I hope the speech gave everyone a glimpse of the Carson that I knew, loved, and cherished. And thank you, Mike and Happy, for raising such an amazing young human. He truly did make an impact on everyone that we met. So thank you.
I'm Karen and Anna, his gal pals, and I never would have imagined that I'd end up cherishing that silly little nickname so much. It was such a small thing that I now hold dear to my heart. One of my favorite memories with Carson was on my 17th birthday. I wanted to go to Green with Carson, Karen, and Anna for brunch and take some cute pictures. I wasn't worried about what Karen and Anna were going to wear, but I was definitely worried about what Carson was going to wear. So the night before, I called him and I asked if he could please wear a decent top and jeans for pictures. He then tells me he doesn't have jeans or a nice top, only work jeans. I told him that was totally fine, just absolutely no basketball shorts. So the next morning, Carson shows up at my house in a brand new pair of jeans and a brand new button-up, with the tag still on them. He had driven all the way to San Marcos that morning to buy a brand new outfit for my birthday. I remember thinking it was so sweet at the time. Now looking back, it says so much about him. He was always willing to go out of his way for us, for even something as simple as making sure he looked nice in my birthday pictures. And as much as Carson could be thoughtful and sweet, he was also one of the most hard-headed people I've ever loved. At Karen and Anna's graduation party, Carson and I were sitting on the front porch, bantering back and forth like always. We were arguing about something, and somehow for once I actually won. That did not happen very often. So naturally, Carson couldn't let me have that win. Instead, he stood up, farted directly in my face, then proceeded to shake the rocking chair I was in, so I had to swing back and forth through his farts. He didn't let me keep that record very long. In the summer of 2024, the Gal Pals pretty much lived at Kara's house. Carson spent almost every day with us. We had endless sleepovers, stayed up all night laughing together and having rap battles, in which Carson won every time. I'm going to miss those late nights and hearing him laugh more than I can explain. And then there were the moments where Carson reminded us that underneath all the laughing and jokes, he really did care about us. After we had an incident with a creepy man, we told Carson what happened. The very next day, he showed up at Kara's house with his boxing gloves and taught us how to fight. He taught us how to punch and plant our feet so we knew what to do if a man ever tried to harm us. That was just the kind of friend Carson was. He could spend 1 minute making you laugh and picking on you, and the next minute he was making sure you knew how to protect yourself. He looked out for us and taught us more than he could imagine. But when I think about Carson, I don't only want to remember how much we lost. I want to remember how lucky we were to have him. I want to remember the laughs, the late nights, the arguments, and the ridiculous moments, and all the little things that made him so special to us. I'm going to miss him more than I can put into words, but I know that every time Kara, Anna, or I tell one of these stories, laugh about something stupid we did, or remember one of our late night rap battles, a little piece of Carson will still be with us. And I'll always be grateful I got to call him my gal pal. Thank you guys.
I've been trying to figure out what to say. There's not a lot I can't say other than that kid was insane. You never knew what he was going to do, what would come out of his mouth. You never knew where he would be unless he told you prior. But I do know he would always stick up for you. He would never let anybody leave behind. If there was somebody who got left behind, he left behind with him. He'd fight for you. He'd scream at folks for you. Apparently, fart in folks' face. I remember we used to grow really, really hot chili peppers out my house. And me and Carson, told me to bring 5 to school. Ate every single one of the exact same time. And proceeded to just go eat. Just lost it. He was probably a couple months later, I brought 1 chip, which is super spicy chip. Ate that entire thing too. Probably went in for a couple minutes searching the entire classroom for milk. There was one time that we snuck out, albeit it was my idea. But unbeknownst to us, Kathy and Mike, they knew. Waking up to them, scariest part of my life, like scariest moment of my life. They were standing there like this. We walked out of the bedroom, or the bedroom. They were just waiting. Probably been sitting there 30 minutes waiting for us to come out of that bedroom. And they're like, "We know what you did. There's no getting away." Now, we've already told all your parents, but I can't remember exactly what they said. But he was always one of the most. He's always been the most unique person I know. He's always gone around, he's like everybody said, he's been making folks happy ever since he was little. He's been making folks laugh ever since he was little, and he's been brightening everybody's day ever since he could. Like, if you were sad, he was always gonna try to cheer you up. If you were mad, he was always gonna try to pull you down. Or he'd get mad with you, depending on the situation. Also, he's bad. He's never scared of cops. I remember one time, we were staying over at Paul's house, and we're staying in a guest house. We're staying there. It's probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and Paul, Garrett, and Carson had gone out to go to the TXP. Probably 10-minute walk, 20-minute walk. Not 20 minutes, but like 10-minute walk. 20 minutes later, cop car comes driving down the driveway. There's lights, sound. This one here. All right, thank you. Miss Gumber, please come out of the house. We would like to speak to you. Miss Gumber comes out. She starts talking to him and just saying, "Hey, I noticed that they were walking down the street. Want to pick them up, brought them back here. They shouldn't be out this late." She understands the cop. Talks to him. He leaves. As soon as he left, she busted out laughing. "I can't believe y'all got caught. Carson, what are you doing? Paul, what are you doing? Karen, what are you doing? You just wanted snacks? Go inside." Walked her happy asses inside, and Carson fell asleep. Carson tried to fall asleep. And then next morning, walked right back to the TXP. Nothing could stop that kid, and no matter what happened, he was always happy to share everything he had. And that's all I can say is that kid, he was one of the best people I know. His time's too short, but he's here with us right now, and he will always be with us. Thank you.
you said that a crocodile bit him or a gator bit him, right? Is that that's what he told you? So you don't find out things until your kids get older, and this is all alleged, and I'm not gonna implicate anybody. If y'all know who I am, then maybe you might know some of what was there, but there was, I don't know when it was, we were still in high school, probably summer, and there was 4 individuals, 4 juveniles, and they decided to try to alter reality a little bit. And one of them was really scared and didn't want to go outside. And then there were 2 that wanted to really go outside. They didn't want to be boxed in, so 2 stayed inside. There was a friend that stayed with the scared one. And then there were 2 that went outside, and there was, I don't know if anybody remembers this, but there was a whole lot of knocking on doors and running off in a certain area that happened that summer. There was one certain somebody that got really pissed. And so when the 2 that went out in the neighborhood, they were knocking on doors, they were running off, they were knocking on doors, they were running off. When they got back to the house, one of them, Carson, was like, dude, I got shot. I got shot. And the other 3 were like, no, you didn't, man. Like, you just give it a little bit, you're okay. And he's like, I got shot. I got shot. So, as altering reality does, you wait a little bit, and you come to, and everybody realizes that Carson's got buckshot in his ass. So sometimes when he says he's getting bit by a gator, you might want to look on his back. That's all I'm saying. Like, I know that we never met, and I said it on the internet, but like, when his car was in my driveway, that was cool. I appreciated that, pulling up every time. So they might have gotten him out of trouble, but I was happy that he was there.
So, my favorite memories of him is, he no longer lives here, but Alden had a pretty big property, and we would throw these big bonfires at the very back of Alden's property. And one night, we were also altering reality, and we ran out of drinks, and there was another party going on in Wood Creek. And so, we told Carson, we're like, Carson, we're sending you on a mission. And he's like, what am I doing? And we're like, you're gonna go to this party, and you're gonna steal all the drinks. And he was like, all right, sounds good. And he gets in the car with Alden, that shitty little Pontiac vibe that smelled like trash. And they drive to this party, and he goes in, he shakes up with everyone, and everyone there liked him, but he didn't have any enemies. So he shakes up with everyone, and he grabs all the bottles and runs. And then they start chasing after him, so he just starts throwing them on the ground because he can't carry them. And then he gets in the car and they start driving away, and this other kid was pulling on the door handle and ripped the door handle off. And so they get back to the bonfire, and we're like, where are the drinks? And he's like, dude, we didn't get them. And then Alden's like, dude, they ripped my door handle off. And we're all like, we need to get our get back. So we all get into this car, there's like probably 8 of us maybe. And we're piled in this tiny car, and me and Carson were in the very back, and like we were texting the people from the other party, and we organized that out on the golf course. The kid that ripped off Alden's door handle and Alden were gonna fight. And I'm in the trunk with Carson, like squeezing in, and Carson leans in my ear and he goes, what if they start fighting him, kick his ass? And I was like, all right, man, sounds good. And we get there, and like maybe 2 punches are thrown, and it goes to the ground, and Carson runs up there, and he throws a kick, and kicks our friend Alden square in the nuts. Just kicks him right in the nuts, and like, he just starts kicking this ball of people on the ground. He's kicking Alden, he's kicking the other kid. And then we pull him off, and he's like, can I help? And we're like, no! And then we drove away, and that was basically that. But that was one of my favorite memories of Carson. He was always on go, no matter what the situation was. And he was always there for me as a friend, too. No matter what I've gone through, he's one of the few people that's just called me out of the blue, to be like, hey man, how are you? And I really appreciate that about him. And I really fucking miss him. He was one of my best friends. That's all I got.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Cole. I was a really good friend of Carson's. He was actually one of my first friends in Wimberley when I first moved here. And one of my favorite memories, it wasn't too long ago, we were gonna go on the bars in 6th Street. And whenever we met up at my house, he saw my Steve Madden satin shoes, dress shoes, and he was just like, Cole, can I wear these? He was in a beat-up t-shirt and basketball shorts with Steve Madden shoes on. I don't remember if he had a, what was that? And knee-high socks. He looked like a leprechaun. It was hilarious. He ended up breaking those shoes, and I wasn't even mad. I was just happy that I saw him running around 6th Street looking like a leprechaun. Causing a fuss, but I feel like there's genres of people, and like you go everywhere, you find people that remind you of somebody, and there was just nobody like Carson. I could try and think of anybody who had a specific genre like Carson, and I just can't think of it. But he was just an amazing person. I've had the best conversations with him. He has said the wildest things, like things that are words you don't even expect to come out of a person's mouth, but he has also had some of the deepest conversations with me at the river and about anything, whether it's conspiracy theorists or Freemasons, it doesn't matter. He'll go and talk about anything, but I miss talking with him, and there's no genre like Carson.
I played football, and I just want to say that boy was strong. Dude, that boy was strong. Hey, he laid my... No, I remember we doing Oklahoma drill, right? And I remember Coach Lace set us up. He comes up to me right after he laid my ass out. He goes, "Do you know?" I remember this exact words. I would come up to Carson, I'd tell him too, and be like, "Do you know?" Every time I saw him. And I know. That dude was strong. For real, he hit you in your waist. Thank you.
Carson. Well, I'm a mom, and so we've all been thinking about Kathy like so much. I have Ramsey and Evelyn, and I've got a couple others. But Ramsey loved Carson. Just loved him. And Evelyn hated him. She said, "I don't like that boy." And I said, "What?" We were all at Wendy's house when I first met him. The kids were all having a party. It was like 8th grade or something. I mean, they weren't doing anything bad. They were in 8th grade, right? Carson was doing something. Everybody was partying. The boys were, and I said, "Who is this Carson boy?" And then I met him and I just loved him. I said, "Evelyn, he's a nice boy." And then Ramsey became best friends with him. And I was just like, I just thought he was cool. You know, and I'm a school teacher too, or I was, and I just, you know those cool kids, they just kind of stand out. I mean, everybody's lovely and everybody has relationships, but Carson stood out, like everybody is saying. So when he came to get a job at the donut shop, and I knew he was wild, fun, crazy leprechaun Carson, I said, "You can't work at the donut shop. You have to be here at 5 a.m. I can do that. He liked a challenge. He liked being pressed. He wanted to see if he could do it. So he came, and Kathy would drive him. I know, we never even spoke. I just saw her light. You know, it's dark. She's like working out. She was like, oh, you know, we never even, Kathy and I never even spoke. It's just Carson would show up. And he kind of had a tummy ache sometimes. It's like, I don't feel good. He had some anxiety or something. I was like, really, baby? And he's like, but I'll get to work. And he would just start working. And he worked hard, but he didn't like to sweep. And he came to me one time and he said, "We need to talk." And I said, "Well, what is it?" You know, because I realized, now looking back after hearing all of y'all's stories, I realized he was just there to make my day. He saw me struggling, I think. He was just there to make my day. So he said, "We need to talk." And I was like, "Okay, what is it?" You know, oh, another problem, you know. Employee problems, customer problems. We're at the donut shop. And I thought it was good the early mornings. He said, no, I hate sweeping. I don't want to do it, but I know it's my job and I don't want you to think bad about me. And I said, well, if you hate it, you should do it more. And so we would kind of just have these little riffs, you know. And then he laughed. And next time he came in, first thing he just grabbed the broom and just started sweeping the shop. And I know now he was just trying to make me happy. He just swept, and then he got carried away. And I don't know if this is true, Mike, but he said, now when I go home, I love sweeping. He said, I come in the garage because I know where the broom is even. He fell in love with sweeping. And he told me, because he couldn't sit still, he realized it was a good thing having the broom. And he literally, it was crazy, because just like the leprechaun, I can't get over that comment, just like the crazy, he had this little pizzazz in him. And he wanted to sweep more than help the customers. By the end of it, I was like, Carson, you're crazy. He would sweep all day, just sweep. And he's like, oh. I mean, if there was a crumb, that I can't find another person like Carson. None of us can. And so the gal pals, he would tell me stories about all these girlfriends he had, but none of them were his real girlfriend. He'd say, you're just like the Hulk. You just have this like tribe of girls. But I think he was always in love with one of them, or maybe all of them. So I'm in my worker busy mode, and sometimes I get too much like that red mode, production, gotta be. And so he is like, this job is great, but I got to do other things, and I got landscaping, and he had a lot going on. I said, okay. And so he just became a customer. He was driving a big old Ford. He loved that truck. He would pull up to the drive-thru. He was so happy to be in that truck. And he'd always order jalapeno kolaches for his dad and for him. And I felt so bad for him paying. Because now I feel like, so first I was a mother. Don't talk to that boy. Yeah, you're right, Evelyn. He's bad. Wendy and I were at church because Carson was just like a party. And so, I don't know what I was going to say. I had notes. Sunshine, like he said, he has character. I was so busy working, I just didn't want to stop, and I was in the back trying to make stupid kolaches or something. And they said, sometimes they knew my mood. They're like, somebody wants to talk to you. And I go, okay. And I go up front. Other times somebody wants to talk to you, like, the employees would tell me, I'd be so excited, But sometimes I was in worker bee mode. And so Carson came through the drive-thru and he's like, and he's just dabbing it up, talking like he is a flirt, character, personality. And I think I know it's Carson, but I'm in the back, and they say he wants to talk to you. And I was like, I'm busy. And then I could hear him laughing or something. I just remember I came around, and it was Carson at the drive-thru. I was like, oh, Carson. And he goes, I just wanted to say hi. And so he just had a way of making you feel special. And so I just love that about him, and I just hate that he's gone. But for all you boys and all of us, gal pals, I guess we'll just harness what he gave us and not fear, and that's when he makes us ask the deep questions. Why are we here? What is this all about? Why is this? It's not fair. So maybe he's here for all of us to really feel together and ask those deep questions, because look, he's already brought all of us. Holy State, we all know each other. It's like he brings everybody together. So he was special, and I do feel like when two or more are gathered together, the Spirit is with you, and Carson had Spirit. So, amen.
My name is Andrew Warnka, and I'm the owner of Good Landscaping. Carson worked with us for the last 3 years. I'm gonna do my best here. I jokingly say that I was his boss, but as you know, Carson kind of beat his own drum. So, more so somebody who his checks. When Carson came to work with me, I had just started going through a divorce. And it was a really, really hard time in my life. And just like this woman who owns the donut shop said, at the time I thought maybe I was giving Carson a job, but I think it was more so he was there for me. Because as rough of a situation that I was in, Carson always found a way to bring joy to any situation. And I'll never forget the first day that he came. He was I guess you would call a referral of somebody who knew him, Christian, who I believe worked with you. And he said, there's this lady I work with, her son is looking for work. He's 16. I said, well, I'm a little hesitant because I've had 16-year-olds who worked with me before, and the maturity level wasn't there. And he said, no, I think you'll be okay. I was in for a ride. I went ahead and agreed to have Carson start, and because of the situation that I was in, we needed the help. And for the most part, I was going to hire Carson regardless. But I asked Carson a question that I asked others when I do an interview process. And I said, Carson, why do you want to work with us? And Carson, being himself, in the most serious voice, said, well, I'll tell you. Women like boats. But girls love jet skis. And I have a truck, and I'm gonna work, and I'm gonna buy me some jet skis. And that was the very first day that Carson worked with me. And I had no idea what the next 3 years would turn into. Carson always found a way to not only light up the room, but make a crappy situation better. He always found a way to inspire and motivate other guys, whether it was 103 degrees outside, whether we were behind on a job, whether any kind of adverse conditions we were facing, he found a way to either make light of it or inspire or nag on you a little bit to get things done so we could finish and do what we needed to do. And that really has an testament to the two of y'all. Because as young as he was 16 when he started, and in 3 years, he was not only one of the best workers I have ever had, he was showing others how to work. He was teaching, he was inspiring, he was encouraging others, and he was giving them a hard time from time to time, pretty much every week. But the things that he did for me during that time, I look back on, and at the time I thought I was giving a kid a job, and I realized that wasn't it. God put Carson in my life to help me through one of the worst times of my life. And I tell my team on a constant basis, if it wasn't for Carson, I don't know if I would still have the business. I don't know where I would be. But having Carson join our team, it allowed me to get my life in order. It allowed me to step back and try to figure things out. And it allowed me to do the things that I needed to do moving forward. And I can't thank y'all for raising just an incredible young man. I think one of his co-football players said he was strong. And man, he was strong. If there was something that we had 2 skid steers. And Carson was not afraid to say, I'll get it, I'll lift it up. Even if I told him we didn't need to lift it up, we had equipment. Carson would find a way to show his strength. That was Carson. He may have been smaller than me, but I tell you what, he was a lot stronger than me in so many different ways. And Kathy, I don't know if you knew this, but I wanted to share this story with you, and that's why I wanted to come up here, because one of the first weeks that Carson was working with us, one of the guys, we went to the gas station to fuel up and get some stuff that was needed for the day. And one of the guys was talking about, oh, I'm excited. Friday's payday, and I'm low on funds. And I guess he didn't eat that morning. And Carson said, well, go ahead, get some stuff. I got stuff. He said, I got my breakfast, I'll get yours. You know, Carson's breakfast was candy, more candy, and a soda. I told Carson, I don't think that's really breakfast. He goes, no, my mom gave me money on my debit card. It's for breakfast. And this other guy said, no, man, I can't take that money. And he goes, no. He's like, I got my mom's debit card. Everybody's eating today. And you would think it ended there. This young man said, no, I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. There was a gentleman that was standing in line next to them. And he said, hey, hombre, I got you. Get in line. I got you. I got my mom's debit card. I can't remember if Carson paid for that guy or not, but he was very persistent, and everybody that was in that line was going to be fed. Because that's the way Carson was. I often think that, yes, he would give you the shirt off his back, but I think sometimes it was probably just because he didn't want to wear a shirt. He definitely pushed the boundaries, as y'all might know. We do have a work policy of a uniform, I would call it. And Carson is still to this day, in all the years of owning the business, the only employee that I've had that has gone to not one or two, probably more than 3 job sites wearing Crocs on a job site when I told him that he needed to wear boots. But Carson would often come from the lake or the river or God knows where and wouldn't always have the proper attire. So Carson and I were about the same size, and one day Carson showed up and he goes, don't worry, boss man. And as I got you, and I saw him with his Crocs, and as some of my other guys would do, they would show up with Crocs, but then they'd switch to wearing boots. I said, oh, you got your boots? And he goes, well, I think they might have got left at the river. You see, there was this girl. I said, oh, no, just stop. And he goes, don't worry, boss man. He goes, I'm putting them in work mode, and lifted the strap I couldn't even be mad with him. I'm like, Carson, just go on. We've got work to do. So he definitely pushed it with that. But on a few of the last jobs that we did, we were stretched pretty thin. And at this time, Carson was already working towards getting his lineman license. So he was working for us 3 days a week. And it's kind of funny because over social media, I actually saw a video where he's up on a tower and he's wearing our shirt. And I've heard from others that he was proud to work for us, but I realized that was really the case. Plus, we have awesome shirts, so of course he would wear them out and about, and he'd wear them fishing, and he'd wear them to parties and other places that were completely against our policy. But it was Carson, and like I said, I technically I was his boss, but Carson beat it to his own drum. But I can't tell you enough stories about his work ethic, because I'll never forget the first time we had, as one of my guys says, a high-touch client called and was trying to find a status on a job, and she said, oh, no worries, I spoke to the young man, and my first thought was, oh God, Carson's the only young guy there. My second thought was, why was Carson talking to the client? And my third thought was, what in the world did Carson say? But she assured me and said, that young man was so nice and so professional, and he was the sweetest young man that I had the pleasure of talking with. Thank you so much for allowing him to be on my property. And that was the type of man that Carson was. So thank you for raising a young man that was an incredible young man. He was somebody I will never forget. My team will never forget. He made an impact on us. We love him. We love y'all. And we can't thank y'all enough for giving Carson to us. Thank you.
Carson's life, I had the privilege of watching him most of the days while Kathy was finishing school. And I homeschooled my own kids, so he was right there alongside with us. And our two families raised our kids together. They were more like brother and sister than they were friends. And I ran the ministry at the church, so wherever I was, he was there. Plus we served a lot of meals downtown at the homeless ministry. And I remember him being so small, 2, 3 years old, not even tall enough to serve at the table. He would climb on top of the ice chest so he could fill the tea glasses and serve them to the person. And there was many times that we had some of the homeless guys come and stop us and talk about how thankful they were for us to be raising kids who would walk up to a man who didn't smell great, who didn't look great, who'd been worn by life, and that he would put his hands up and want to be picked up and held, and he would talk to them like he always knew them. And you know, being able to do also the outdoor ministry alongside with y'all, and you and Scott and the boys being able to come alongside so many fatherless boys. And Carson knew what a gift it was to be able to spend so much time in the outdoors, fishing with his dad. What a gift it was for you to speak into his life, because you took him to all those meetings that you did every month, pouring into all those other boys' lives. He saw that example from you. So I have a couple of stories. The first one is Chase and Dakota were best friends, right? Our two girls. So these two girls don't have any sisters, so they just want to spend time with just the two of them. Well, Carson is not having it, ever. 10 years. Every single day. So we go down to Rockport, right? Kathy and I are just sitting outside. The boys are off fishing in the boat. Carson is there because he wants to spend time with the girls. He didn't want to take them. Well, the girls come out, and here comes Carson. He's screaming and crying, and Kathy's like, "What did you do to him?" Yeah, and they're like, they didn't say anything at first, and then Carson says, "They put me in the laundry chute." And we were like, "What? Like, why?" And the girl said, "Well, Carson is adamant, telling Dakota that one day he's gonna marry her." And the girls kept telling him to not say that, so to get him back, because he wouldn't behave, they put him down the laundry. Most of our nights were that way. The girls wanted to just play. Carson wanted to be right in the middle of them, but he always, you know, to the last time we spoke to him, he told our daughter, who's in the back here today, sir, that he was gonna marry her one day. So, anyways, thank you for sharing that with us, and what a blessing for God to give to all of us for 18 years, and that he trusted you both and you specifically to pour into him and raise him up and share him with the world, and obviously you did that. So, well done.
The first few weeks he was my neighbor. I didn't want much to do with him because he was always outside shirtless and wearing jeans with one pant leg that went all the way to the floor, the other one went to his knee. But that kid was so consistent. Every day I'd get home at 4 o'clock from classes and I'd be dog tired. And he would run up to me, "What are you doing? How was your day?" And I would be like, "It was good." And the first week I was coming home, but I didn't really know him, he did that to me every day, and it made me so uncomfortable. And eventually I get a knock on my window. I'm like, who in the world could be knocking on my window right now? Well, I open my blinds, and it's Carson. And he's like, come outside. And I go outside, and he's just got a group of people outside of his house, and everybody's talking. And after that day, Carson would come to my window at like 2 o'clock at night, and all he would want to do was talk. And that's what we did. We talked all night long. And Kid was very consistent, most consistent guy. No matter if you wanted it or not, you were gonna get it. That's what I love about Carson.
CJ, TSC2, Carson, one of my first classmates. Carson, he really grew on me. And when I first met him, he was the annoying kid with his mom, Rocco. But me and Carson, we got our first. I got my first. I don't know how many of this person has, but I got my first and my favorite person. And I just wanted to defer it and pay it off. And Carson's like, no, go to community service with me. I went with him, and I have never seen somebody just ready to talk to the judge. He dapped the judge up, and everybody else was quiet. He was participating, and it was just.
It was one of the first group of people I met, coming to Waverly as a new person, and I remember I had a 7th grade birthday party, and I had it wasn't a lot of people, I had this kind of a small house, small backyard, but he was there, and that was the time when my mom and my dad and my siblings were there, and they met Carson for the first time, and we went outside after eating some dessert. We went outside from the backyard, and he started taking his shirt off, and man, he started shotgunning Dr. Peppers, man. Dude, my siblings were laughing, dude. We were all laughing, we were cracking up. I mean, dude, who is this kid, and I was just like, wow, dude, this dude has a humongous personality, and I was so happy just getting to meet him. I could go all day about different stories. One I did like to share is we were at Logan Seeliger's house. And freaking Cole, bro, we had a long night, dude. We had a long night, and you were ready to go to bed. But dude, Carson was definitely not ready to go to bed. And dude, he had like a Nerf gun, and you were like asleep, bro. You were like passed out, and he started like 4 a.m. Yeah, it was like 4 a.m. He started like shooting you, bro, with the Nerf gun. Dude, Logan and me were cracking up, bro. This guy was had his shirt off, fucking. He was just shooting you over and over. You threw something at him. Like, stop, bro. I was like, dude, that was just, dude, he was always like that. Always just having fun. He was always the life of the party, and I will always remember him for a lot of things, but especially for being the life of the party. And y'all raised an amazing son, and I was very pleasured to be his friend, and I really do appreciate y'all. So thank y'all.
My name is Ryan. I've noticed a lot of people say how Carson made them feel special, so I figured I'd share my moment where Carson made me feel special. When I first met him, he introduced himself to me as Craig. God only knows why. So I'm hanging out with him, and his friend Ethan is there as well, and he starts calling him Carson. I'm like, why is he calling him Carson? It's the strangest thing. And I come up to him, I'm like, did you lie to me about your name? No. Just my close friends call me Carson. He's like, okay, sure, Craig. So we're done. We were at a wakeboarding park, and me and my friend were about to leave, and I was so charmed by him. He had finally asked me for my number, and I was like, oh, great. As I'm putting in his name, his number, he looks at me, he goes, you can call me Carson. That's all, thank you.
My name is Sammy. I moved away 3 years ago. Carson was one of the few people that I've stayed in pretty regular contact with. He came to visit me. I work on the ski mountain, I snowboard, and it's February, the coldest month in New Mexico where I live. He shows up, I pull up to pick him up at the airport. There's maybe 5 inches of snow on the ground. And he walks out of the airport in his Crocs, wearing basketball shorts and a t-shirt, and he's shivering. And I roll down the window and I say, Carson, it's the middle of February. What did you expect when you come? So I give him a jacket, I give him pants, I give him all the things. I dressed him for a week practically. It was my brother's wardrobe. And there was one day we're up on the mountain. I had to work that day, and he decided to meet some friends, and he found someone to ride down the mountain with. I'm walking through the ski area lodge, and I see Carson's shoes on the ground. And I'm wondering, I'm like, it's 5:30, everything's closed. I'm like, he couldn't be here anymore. He went down the mountain. When I get down and I get service again, I have a picture on my phone from Carson of him riding down the ski mountain with no shoes. So meaning he walked through the snowy parking lot with 0 shoes. And yeah, Carson was just truly an amazing human being, someone that I was very blessed to know, and all of us were. And it's really wonderful to see the amount of love that this town and this community produces. And I just appreciate every single one of you. So thank you for being in Carson's lives and loving him as much as I did. Thank you.
It's killing me walking in here and just hearing this. I was great when I was in the back. I was in my zone doing my thing, and then I walk in here and I lose it. But I apologize for that. But thank y'all for all being here. I'm just gonna ask y'all now to please just join me in prayer as we take it to God. Father, we just love you. In difficult times like this, as hard as it is, Lord, we steadfast on your truth. The truth that you give us, that there is a greater place than this. And if we put our faith and trust in you, Lord, we will be there someday. Just as you tell us, is if we raise up our child in the way they should go, they'll never stray. There's no doubt in my mind the love that Carson had for you, even if it was deep in his heart, he loved like you loved. He loved big. So Lord, there's not a doubt in my mind that I will join hands with Carson one day and we will rock this world. Because he's an amazing, amazing young man, and we're thankful, God, we're thankful so much for the time that we got to spend with him, the way he changed our lives, the things we learned from him. God, I pray that I can love that big. I pray that I can impact this many people in my life. That this many people show up just to show their love for a single person. It blows my mind, God. And that shows who you created him to be. So Father, we just thank you for this day. I pray that moving forward, Lord, that you just show Mike and Kathy the compassion they need, the love they need, the peace they need, God. Give them the comfort that they need to just understand that it's your truth that we have to stand on. God, we don't always understand your plan. They can be very confusing most of the time. But you ask us not to question you, God, but just believe in you and trust in you. So I don't know what that looks like, but I'm praying that's where we go. I pray that we just focus on you, Lord, focus on your truth, and give peace to Mike and Kathy and the family. Lord, as we continue the day, I just pray that we continue to fellowship, spend time like Carson would, being free, loving each other, just sharing stories. Just like the young man said earlier, that Carson just showed up to talk. So let's do that now. Let's spend that kind of time together. Let's not be too busy in our lives that we can't stop to focus on just talking to somebody or spending time together and forgetting about friends because we get so wrapped up in life and work. Let's focus on community. Let's love each other. Lord, we just thank you for this time. Please bless it and have your favor over it. Lord, thank you for this food. Let it nourish our bodies so that we can continue to serve you in all that you call us to do. We just love you and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.